Dr. Ziara Veltash had been a xenobiologist for 3 centuries, studying life across the galaxy for the Galactic Science Consortium. She documented ecosystems on frozen methane worlds, cataloged predators that hunted in dimensions humans couldn't perceive, and survived encounters with creatures that would give most species nightmares for generations. But she had never, in all her years, felt as terrified as she did watching the human exploration team prepare to descend to Kethron 9. "This is insanity," she said, her crystalline voice modulator struggling to convey the depth of her concern. "Kethron 9 is a Class 15 Deathworld, Class 15, the highest classification possible. Every previous survey team has been killed within hours." Dr. Sarah Chen, the human team leader, checked her equipment with casual efficiency. "How many survey teams?" 17, Ziara replied. 11 different species, every single one lost. The longest any team survived was 4.3 hours. The Kryn sent their most elite warrior scientists. The Vorath sent combat drones. The Quelix sent. "Did any of them send humans?" Sarah interrupted. "Well, no, but then those statistics aren't really relevant to us, are they?" Sarah smiled in that peculiar human way that could mean either friendliness or impending violence. Ziara still couldn't tell which. "Besides, we need to know what's down there. Something is killing those survey teams, and we need to understand it." "Understand it?" Ziara's translator crackled with disbelief. "Dr. Chen, Kethron 9 has a gravity 1.8 times galactic standard. Its atmosphere contains toxins lethal to 43 known species. Its ecosystem includes apex predators in 7 different ecological niches, all competing for dominance. The plant life is actively carnivorous. The weather patterns include storms that generate lightning hot enough to vaporize titanium. And the planet itself," she paused, trying to find words, "the planet seems hostile in ways we don't fully understand, as if nature itself is weaponized." "Sounds like Australia," commented Marcus Webb, the team's survival specialist, as he loaded supplies into the shuttle. "What's Australia?" Ziara asked. "A place on Earth where everything wants to kill you," Marcus replied cheerfully. "Spiders the size of dinner plates, jellyfish whose sting causes pain so intense people beg for death, snakes with venom that dissolves your blood, crocodiles that can bite you in half, and octopi that are both venomous and adorable. Great place for vacation." Ziara stared at him. "And humans chose to live there. Millions of them," Sarah confirmed. "Dr. Veltash, I appreciate your concern, but humans evolved on a death world. Earth is classified as Class 12. We've spent our entire evolutionary history surviving conditions that would kill most galactic species. But Kethron 9 is Class 15, which means it's worse than Earth," Sarah agreed. "But not unimaginably worse, just worse. We're curious to see how much worse." 4 hours later, the human team stood on the surface of Kethron 9, and Ziara watched from the orbital station with growing horror. The planet was beautiful in the way that lethal things often are. Towering fungal forests in colors that hurt to look at, skies that shifted between violet and crimson, mountains that seemed to breathe, and everywhere movement, life, aggressive, hostile, hungry life. "Initial readings," Sarah reported, her voice crackling through the comm system. "Gravity is manageable. We brought compression suits. Atmosphere requires respirators but isn't immediately corrosive. Temperature is hot, but within human tolerance, barely. Radiation levels are elevated but not lethal with proper shielding. Overall assessment, unpleasant but survivable. Please be careful, Ziara transmitted. The previous teams all reported similar initial readings before. The transmission cut off as something massive erupted from the ground beneath Marcus's feet. A creature that looked like a cross between a spider and a plant, with crystalline fangs and limbs that moved too fast to track. It was easily 6 meters across, covered in thorns that dripped something viscous and presumably poisonous. Marcus didn't scream. He didn't freeze. He moved with a speed that surprised Ziara, rolling backward while simultaneously pulling a weapon and firing 3 shots directly into the creature's central mass. The creature shrieked, a sound that made Ziara's sensory organs ache even through the audio buffer, and retreated back underground. "Contact," Marcus reported calmly. Ambush predator approximately 6 meters diameter, crystalline dentition, probable venom system. Classification, hostile. Engagement result, deterred but not killed. "Everyone all right?" Sarah asked. "I'm good," Marcus confirmed. "Though that thing was fast, faster than it should be given its mass and the gravity. Something's off about the biomechanics here." Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the team's biologist, was already scanning the area where the creature had emerged. "The soil composition is strange. High concentration of what appears to be neural tissue. No, that can't be right, but the scanner is reading complex electrochemical activity throughout the ground structure. Could the planet itself be alive?" Sarah wondered aloud. "Planets aren't alive," Ziara transmitted automatically, but even as she said it, she pulled up the historical data on Kethron 9. Something about Yuki's readings was familiar. The human team continued deeper into the fungal forest. Around them, the planet seemed to wake up. Plants that had been still began to move, their movements coordinated in ways that suggested intelligence. Creatures emerged from hiding, not attacking yet, but watching, following. "I don't like this," Marcus said. "It feels like we're being herded." "Agreed," Sarah replied. "Stay alert, weapons ready, but don't fire unless directly threatened. We're here to observe, not to fight." A sound rippled through the forest, a low-frequency hum that Ziara could barely detect even with enhanced sensors. The humans stopped, looking around. "What was that?" Yuki asked. "Communication," Sarah replied. "Something just sent a signal, a big signal, like a broadcast to everything in range." The attacks began 30 seconds later. Creatures boiled out of the forest from every direction. Not just 1 or 2 species, but dozens, flying creatures with razored wings. Ground predators with too many legs. Things that defied easy classification, their bodies seeming to shift and adapt as Ziara watched. But they weren't attacking randomly. They were coordinated, pack tactics, flanking maneuvers, suppressing fire using projectile-spitting organisms. "Defensive formation!" Sarah shouted, and the 6 humans moved with a synchronization that rivaled the attacking creatures. They formed a circle, each person covering a field of fire, weapons blazing. Ziara watched in amazement as the humans didn't just survive, they adapted. Marcus switched to explosive rounds when he realized standard bullets weren't penetrating the armored creatures. Yuki deployed sonic weapons that disrupted the flyers' navigation. Sarah used fire, actual combustion-based fire, to create barriers that the plant-based attackers wouldn't cross. "Dr. Veltosh?" Sarah's voice cut through the combat sounds. We need information. What happened to the previous teams? Exactly what happened. Ziara pulled up the reports, her appendages moving frantically across the controls. They were overwhelmed by coordinated attacks, multiple species acting in concert, which shouldn't be possible given their normal territorial behaviors. How long into each mission did the attacks begin? Anywhere from 30 minutes to 4 hours, but I don't see how. It's the planet, Sarah said, her voice carrying certainty even as she fired at something with far too many teeth. The planet is coordinating them. Look at the attack patterns. This isn't natural predation. This is defense. The planet is defending itself. Planets can't, Ziara began, but she was already pulling up deeper scans of Kethron 9. The neural tissue Yuki had detected, the electrochemical signals, the coordinated responses. Oh gods, the humans were right. Kethron 9 appears to have evolved a distributed intelligence, Ziara transmitted, her voice shaking. The entire ecosystem is networked, plants, animals, even the soil bacteria. They're all connected through chemical and electrical signals. When you landed, you triggered a planetary immune response. So the planet isn't just a death world, Marcus grunted, using his weapon as a club when something got too close. It's a living death world that actively tries to kill invaders. Fantastic. You need to evacuate immediately, Ziara urged. If this is truly a planetary organism, it can bring unlimited resources against you. You can't win. We're not trying to win, Sarah interrupted. We're trying to communicate. She pulled out a device Ziara didn't recognize and drove it into the ground like a spike. Lights began flashing along its length in complex patterns. What is that? Ziara asked. Modified neurostimulator, Yuki explained, still firing at attackers. We use similar devices to communicate with whales and dolphins on Earth, species with intelligence but no shared language. If this planet is truly alive, it has some form of sensory system. We're trying to signal. We're not a threat. We come in peace. Please stop trying to kill us. For 30 seconds, nothing changed. The attacks continued. Then, abruptly, every creature froze. The silence was deafening. Ziara watched as the creatures, dozens of species that should have been tearing each other apart, let alone cooperating, simply stood still, watching, waiting. Did it work? Marcus whispered. The ground began to shake, not violently but rhythmically, like a heartbeat. The fungal towers around them began to glow with bioluminescence, patterns of light cascading through the forest in waves. It's responding, Yuki breathed, her scanner going wild with readings. The neural activity just increased by a factor of 10. It's thinking, processing, The device Sarah had planted began to pulse with returned signals. Slow at first, then faster, more complex, a dialogue. What's it saying? Ziara asked. Sarah was watching her datapad where translation algorithms were working overtime. It's not language exactly, more like emotional states and concepts. It's confused, curious. It's asking why we're not dying. Tell it we're explorers, Marcus suggested. We're just here to learn. The humans worked frantically with their device, translating concepts into signals. Minutes passed. The creatures still hadn't moved, still watched with hundreds of eyes waiting for the planet's directive. Finally, the ground stopped shaking. The lights in the fungal forest shifted to a different color, less threatening, more curious. I think, Sarah said slowly, we just made first contact with a planet. Over the next 6 hours, the humans established a communication protocol with Kethron 9. It was crude, limited to basic concepts, but it worked. They learned that Kethron 9 was indeed a form of distributed consciousness, billions of organisms networked into something approaching sentience. Not intelligent in the way humans or galactics were intelligent, but aware, thinking, and terrified. It's been killing survey teams out of fear, Yuki explained during a break, while the planet's creatures brought them, cautiously, almost apologetically, something that scans indicated was nutritious and non-toxic. Every time a species landed here, they tried to extract resources, take samples, establish dominance. From Kethron 9's perspective, these were invasions, infections. It responded the only way it knew how, by activating its immune system. And we're the first species that tried to talk to it instead of fight it, Marcus added. Not quite, Sarah corrected. We're the first species that survived long enough to try talking. The others died too quickly. But why didn't you? Ziara asked, watching from orbit. The attacks were just as fierce against you as against previous teams. You should have been overwhelmed. The three humans looked at each other, then Sarah answered. Because we're from Earth, Dr. Veltosh. We evolved on a planet that was actively trying to kill us every single day. Predators, diseases, weather, other humans. Our entire evolutionary history is surviving things that want us dead. We developed technology, tactics, and psychology specifically designed to thrive in hostile environments. Plus, Marcus added, we have a special talent for making friends with things that want to eat us. Back on Earth, we domesticated wolves, apex predators that hunted in packs. We made friends with them, and now we call them dogs. We've got a whole history of looking at dangerous creatures and thinking, but what if we could be friends? That's insane, Ziara said. Yes, Sarah agreed cheerfully, but it's why we're still here and the other survey teams aren't. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Science Consortium held an emergency session. Dr. Ziara Veltosh presented her findings to the assembled scientists. Kethron 9 is not simply a Class-15 Deathworld, she explained. It is a Class-15 Deathworld with distributed planetary consciousness. It has been defending itself against what it perceived as invasions. However, thanks to the human exploration team, we've established communication protocols. She pulled up images of the humans working on Kethron 9, building structures with the planet's permission, studying its ecosystems with its cooperation, learning from a form of life no one had ever imagined. The humans have not only survived on Kethron 9, Ziara continued. They've established the first diplomatic relationship with a planetary intelligence. Kethron 9 has agreed to allow research teams, provided they follow strict protocols and communicate their intentions. How did they survive the initial contact? A Kryn scientist demanded. Our warrior scientists were killed in minutes. The humans are from Earth, Ziara replied simply. Earth is a Class 12 Deathworld. Humans evolved to survive in extreme conditions. They didn't see Kethron 9 as impossible. They saw it as difficult. There's a difference. She pulled up one final image. The 6 human explorers standing in the fungal forest, surrounded by creatures that had tried to kill them 3 weeks earlier. The creatures were now docile, almost protective. In the image, Dr. Chen was reaching out to touch one of the massive ambush predators that had attacked Marcus. The creature was allowing it, its body language suggesting something almost like curiosity. The humans have a saying, Ziara concluded. Life finds a way. They've proven that intelligence and cooperation can overcome even the most hostile environments. Kethron 9 has agreed to share its knowledge of extreme adaptation, distributed consciousness, and biological networking. In exchange, humans have agreed to teach it about technology, space travel, and the wider galactic community. A planet wants to learn about space travel, someone asked incredulously. Kethron 9 is, in its way, lonely, Ziara explained. It's the only planetary consciousness we've discovered. The humans suggested it might like to meet others. They're working on a way to allow Kethron 9 to extend its consciousness through biological satellites. Within a decade, Kethron 9 might be able to communicate with other worlds. The chamber erupted in debate, excitement, fear, wonder, and terror mixing in equal measure. But Ziara was looking at the image of the humans, standing on a world that had killed 17 previous teams, not just surviving but thriving. She'd learned something important during this expedition. She'd learned that humans didn't see hostile environments as barriers. They saw them as challenges. They didn't see dangerous creatures as monsters. They saw them as potential friends, or at least as things that could be understood and reasoned with. Most importantly, she'd learned that when humans explored a Class-15 Deathworld and nature itself tried to kill them, they didn't run. They didn't surrender. They didn't even really fight back. They introduced themselves and asked if they could be friends. And somehow, impossibly, nature had said yes. 6 months later, Kethron 9 officially joined the galactic community as its first non-humanoid member. Dr. Sarah Chen was named as its permanent human liaison. The planet requested that its classification be changed from Class-15 Deathworld to Class-15 Lifeworld. Dangerous, yes, but alive and willing to talk. The request was granted. And across the galaxy, scientists began to wonder, if humans could make friends with a planet that wanted them dead, what else were they capable of? The answer, as humanity would demonstrate time and time again, was anything, absolutely anything.